In this video, I'll be showing you how to calculate a difference from a previous row. If you're analyzing data that is in time series, like dates and months, and it's something like sales data you want to compare from a previous period, you're basically going to subtract from the previous row. In Excel, with a regular range of data, it's pretty easy. You're just going to minus one row from the other. And I'm going to show you three ways that we can do this. One, using Excel, doing that way. Of course, that's the easiest way. And the other way is going to be using pivot tables. And that might not be as intuitive, but I'll show you how you can do this fairly easy once you get your data into a pivot table. The third way I'm going to show you is with Power Query. And in Power Query, this might be one step in a series of steps when you're transforming your data. And you just want to know how to do this in Power Query. Subtracting previous rows in Power Query also isn't as intuitive, but it's not that hard. So let's get started to learn these three ways we can do this. So calculating the difference from a previous row, I'll show a couple examples. One where it's kind of really easy to do, the other using pivot tables, and one using Power Query. So here's the really easy one. So we have units sewed, these are months, right? So we want to find out what's the difference. You just minus that off the previous one. And you can see that as we take it down, it's going to do the subtraction for you. Now that's really easy. And that's really the most simplest approach when you have this kind of data. But let's say that we have it in a pivot table. I've got all this data from Microsoft. And so all of this informs this particular table. So what I'm going to do is turn it into a pivot table, do insert pivot table. It's Excel smart enough to figure out the range. Click OK, put it into a new worksheet. And I'll put in the units sold. That was the value I had there. And the month name, right? So I have my month name here, units sold. It points out the decimals. You can see the previous one didn't have decimals. I kind of rounded it up, or took off the decimal, and this one does. What we can do is put this field in here again, and instead of sum of units sold, right click, go to show values as and a difference from. So the base field is going to be the month name, but the base item, not the month, but what it says here, previous. So it's going to look at the previous entry here for that month. Click OK, and now you can see that it's calculated out. So right, we have our 12,000 here, 34,000 here. It's going to be the same here, 12,000 here, 34,000 there, right? And so that is how you can do it in a pivot table. So what about Power Query? Now in Power Query, you can't do it very similar to what you do here in Excel, native Excel in the worksheet here. I'm going to copy this, but there's a way to do it. Copy this and put it into Power Query here. Control C to copy, Control V to paste. Control T makes this as a table. I'm going to bring this into Power Query, go to Data, from table and range, and it's going to bring up the editor. And what I need to do is I need to create an index table or index column. So go to add column, index column, and I'm going to create two. One for 0 to 11. It's going to start 0, and the other one is going to start at the number 1. And then what we're going to do is we're going to fold this query back into itself, basically do a lookup back into itself. So click on here, go to Home, go to Merge, merges, I'll just merge queries. I'll just merge queries, and I'm going to merge the same query together, right? So this is the same query, but I'm going to use index 0 first, and then the second index, which starts at the number 1. So anything that looks at that 1 will be put down here. So that value will be put here. Well, let's click OK and see what it looks like. So I'm going to expand this, and all I want to see is the units sold, because that's the value I want to bring back. I don't want this here either. Click OK, and now you can see that it's kind of messed it up because it resorted the rows. I want January to show up first again, but luckily we have this index, so I'll just sort this first, sort ascending. It brings it back, and of course the first value when it did the lookup, there was no 0 to look up in the second table lookup, and so it brought back no. But you can see there was a 1. And it referenced it back to this, right? And so it referenced that. What you can do now is just subtract these two. So I just select that cell, press the Control key, select that column, press the Control key, and then select that column. And I'm going to add a column. Click Subtract. And now I'm going to get my values here. So all I need now is my month column and my units sold column. Press the Control key to multi-select non-adjacent columns and click on that. Right-click, remove other columns. I have this value here. I'll just keep that heading, and I will bring this into a sheet. Close and load to. Actually, I'll put it into a new sheet. Just the default is to put it into a new sheet. So you can see it has loaded it, and the same values here: minus 12,000, and 34,000 for that number. So that's how you can do it in Power Query. A couple extra steps, but it's not too bad. Basically, it's just a lookup. So there's 3 ways we can subtract or calculate the difference from previous row. One, very simple, using Excel, the minus feature. If you've got a table, that pivot table, you can put another column into the value section and change the parameters there. And in Power Query, you can do a lookup by merging the tables and doing the subtraction there.
Calculating a value from a previous row, like comparing month data from one sales month to another, is not a hard thing to do. And in a standard table, it's really easy to do. Once you get the pivot tables or putting it into Power Query, it's not as intuitive, but I hope that you found the steps in this video helpful and you can use it in your particular case. To see more videos like this, click the banner at the end.